Hi, this is Doug Pardee. We're going to be creating a raw tone curve for LightZone. There's no standardized reference for what makes a correct raw tone curve. We're going to be using a raw file from imagingresource.com that contains a GretagMacbeth Color Checker. It's been my experience those give very good results overall. They're quite consistent from one camera model to the next. They seem to be very well lit. They're also usually available for a wider variety of camera models and sooner than images that we might use as references from other sources such as Digital Photography Review. Our first step is going to be obtaining the actual file that we want to use. We're going to be fulfilling a request for a raw tone curve for an Olympus XZ1, which is a relatively older Olympus point-and-shoot camera. Here's the Imaging Resource homepage. So we're going to go to Camera Reviews, and Olympus is under the popular manufacturers. There's also an all camera manufacturers if we need to go there. But we're going to go ahead and go to Olympus, and to save us a little bit of time we're going to select just the point and shoots. And these are in alphabetical order. XZ1 is way down here at the bottom, so we click that. And here's the part that we need to pay a little attention to save us some trouble. There's a drop down box over here that says Navigate Review. If we drop that down, there's an entry called Thumbnails. We'll click that. This brings up all of their test shots as thumbnails. The one that I prefer to use if it's available is way down here at the very bottom. They do it for a viewfinder check, and you can see the GretagMacbeth Color Checker right over here. If that's not available, they will usually have this one just to the left of it that has all of these different colors and stuff. And there's a tiny GretagMacbeth Color Checker down here at the bottom, and we could use that. So we go to the first one that has a link for a raw file, which in this case is the very first one here. I like to make sure the ISO isn't a especially low ISO, because sometimes those are have a different tone curve than later ones. But 100 should be fine. We have to remember to click that to bring up this screen. I sometimes forget that and I end up with the wrong thing. Once we get this up, we can right click and click Save Link As, and we are ready to go to actually save the file. Okay, now we've got the file opened up in LightZone, and as we see in our tool stack, we have the raw adjustments, but we don't have a raw tone curve. Our first step is going to be to create a blank raw tone curve to use. So we start by clicking on the zone mapper. We will rename it Raw Tone Curve. I don't think the name is very significant, but it's very helpful to have it somewhat standardized. The other important thing to do is to click the RGB button down here at the bottom. In general, the raw tone curve is correcting for the demosaicing rather than the actual tonality of the image. So we need to treat each channel separately, and that's what that part does. Okay, now to make things just a little easier for us, we're going to add a couple of tools onto here. I'll make it so that when we mouse over the color checker that we get a more stable numerical value. First we're going to add a black and white, and we can just close that up. Then we're going to add a blur. I usually find running the blur up closer to a 10 gives a better overall blur. We don't want the squares to blur into each other, but we want them pretty well blurred within the square. And then we'll go ahead and close that up, and we're ready to continue. Okay, we're going to start doing some actual work on our tone mapper right now. We're going to be working with this bottom row of the GretagMacbeth Color Checker. I call the left one white and the right one black, although neither one is truly white nor black. But that's what I'll refer to them as. And what we want to do is get those pegged on the color or the zone mapper here. So first we'll select the zone finder, and we're going to find the dark square, the black square. There it is. Now that we've found it, we go up one line and we just lock that into place with a click. Now we're going to find the white square. There that is. Go up one line and lock that into place with a click. Now we're going to try to position the white and black squares to the reasonably close to the appropriate values. For that, we're going to need to use the sampler, and we're going to be looking at this luminosity value in the top right of the sampler window. We're going to start with the white square. The white square is currently reading out about a 142. We need that, should be up at 232. Realistically, it's hard to get it that high. Anything over 215 or 220 is usually pretty good. We're going to start by lifting this top line that we locked. Bring that up a ways. We've only got 184. Let's bring it up all the way, and we've only got 198. So lots of times we then have to go down to the line below it and lift that up. 212, still not enough. Bring it up some more. 224, that might do, but we can probably do a little better, maybe not quite that much. There's 229, that'll do for the moment. Now we'll turn our attention to the black square. This should be an 8, it's currently a 5. We'll try to get it close to an 8. In my experience, lots of times you can get 7 and 9, and 8 is a little elusive, but let's see what we can get. We've got 7 and 9. We'll just put it right there in between. We still got a 9. I usually like to end up on the 7 side, make it a little darker when we can't get a black. And the white square here is showing 231, so that's very good. So we now have our outside limits set very nicely. We're going to turn our attention to the middle squares in that bottom row. These should read out as 91 and 49. We're getting 97 and 49. So the 49 is looking pretty good. Given that, let's immediately jump over to this square here, which should be a 23, and it's about a 20. Let's see if we can lock our 49 into place so that we don't mess with it too much. And it is here, so let's just lock that. And now let's go on about trying to get our 91 on this square, which is 97. So we're just going to go just above that and pull this down a little bit. 93. 92, that's close enough. It really within about 2 is pretty good for anything except the very darkest end. Then we can turn our attention to this one, which should be 149. It's at 157, so he's running a little high. Let's see if pulling this down any helps. 152, that's a little better, and then maybe this one. 145, that was too much, so let's bring this one up, sort of try to even those out. 145, we may be able to just knock that one out entirely. 146, yeah, that's looking better. We'll pull this one up. I try not to have too many of these lines in here. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. 150, this one's at 231, so that's looking good. We got 231 instead of 232, 152 now, 150 instead of 149, 89 instead of 91, so this one needs to come up just a little bit. 90, 150, those are looking good. This one should be 49, he's at 48. This one should be 23, and it's at 20. So we're going to have to lift that one up. So let's try this line. That did not have much effect. So let's undo and try the next one up. Oop, don't want to go too far here. 21. That's still a 21. Let's try them both. And we got 22. What's this one? This should be 8. We're still at 7, so that's good. And let's go ahead and bring this up. Get rid of that line. Got 23, 7, excellent. This one's still at 49. Let's experimentally see if we can remove this line. 49, excellent. 23, 7, 90, 150, 231, they are all within one of our desired target values. We look like we are there. Now that we have the tool figured out, it's time to save it. First thing we need to do is close it up so that it does not come up opened up whenever it gets used. And we're going to lock it. Raw tone curves are generally locked to prevent accidental bumping. Then we need to go over to our File menu and select Save as Style. The style name is going to be the name that appears right down here where it says always apply the style to raw images from. Be sure you get that all in capitals, because if you don't, it will work fine on Windows but not on Mac and Linux. The folder is Camera Default, which is not all in capitals. I happen to already have one because I already have some other raw tone curves that have been created. You may need to create that file or folder the first time through. And we're going to select which tool we want to save, which is just the raw tone curve. So we check that one and we click the Save button, and there we go. Our final step is going to be testing to be sure that our raw tone curve comes up when we open a raw file and that it works as expected. First thing we need to do is go back to the browser, not saving what we have here. And having gotten there, we go ahead and reopen our raw file. This looks like a good sign. We have the raw tone curve in our tool stack. The image itself looks very good. So I would say that we have a successful generation of a raw tone curve. We're now ready to send that off to whomever, or put it into the project, or whatever we need to do with it. Or if you're just going to use it for yourself, you've got it ready to go. This is not too difficult to process most of the time. Occasionally you go crazy working with the little lines on the zone mapper. Sometimes it just seems like you're fighting yourself on it, but this one went pretty easily. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Have a good day.